examples. It's incredible. Tesla also invented the remote control, which he demonstrated in front of shocked crowds more than 100 years ago, and is the result of so much convenience in our daily lives that we take for granted and we don't think about too often. Another little known fact is that Tesla invented the radio, not Marconi. In fact, the Supreme Court ruled on this decades ago, but most people are not aware of this. Tesla had hundreds of patents throughout the world. In fact, inventions such as the television, computers, lasers, x-rays, robotics, and many other things can be credited at their roots based on the works and achievements that Tesla had completed. Now, Tesla had also claimed that he had perfected the technology to harness wireless free energy to the entire world. And he even began works on completing this technology, which is referred to as the Tesla Tower, until J.P. Morgan, one of the heirs to the banking conglomerates, which is a whole different story, pulled back funding and gave it to Thomas Edison, who I'll get to in just a second. But Tesla was so adamant that he had completed and perfected this ability that he wrote 50 letters over 5 years to J.P. Morgan, begging and pleading that, listen, I just need more funding. I have perfected this technology. But J.P. Morgan did not go along with it, and ultimately he demolished the site, and this is what's left of it. You know, it's interesting. Many people don't believe that Tesla had perfected that technology. But why would you doubt him? I mean, you certainly believe in Wi-Fi, you believe in satellite TV or radio, which when you think about it, we're talking about energy and information coming out of thin air, and it's really incredible when you think about it. Now, Tesla is the same person who accurately and epically, I should say, described a cell phone or even the Skype and FaceTime apps, or smart TVs for that matter, back in 1926. In fact, take a second to pause the video and read this quote. But people called Tesla crazy or a mad scientist for this. They never believed it. And all of these things tie into what Tesla had stated about understanding the secrets of the universe would require to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, which is, of course, what these things are. So when Nikola Tesla stated adamantly a month before his death that he had perfected the death ray, which would essentially just make planes fall out of the sky, you have to start to wonder, had he figured that out? Now, going back to Thomas Edison, most people think that he invented the light bulb, which he did not. In fact, mainstream outlets around the world are starting to report on this in just the last few years, yet they still teach us in the public schooling system. It's ridiculous. What Edison did was buy the patent, and he had a few dozen interns perfect it, and then he stamped his name on it and made a fortune in the process. In fact, Edison was not an inventor. He hardly invented anything. In fact, he actually screwed over Nikola Tesla when he refused to pay him a promised $50,000, which would be equivalent to a few $1,000,000 today, when Nikola Tesla perfected the AC current over the DC current, which was what Thomas Edison was pushing all around the world. In fact, Thomas Edison, if you want to know what kind of person he was, he literally electrocuted dogs, horses, and elephants to try and discredit the AC current in order to prop up the DC current, saying that it was much safer, which just wasn't true whatsoever. In fact, that reminds me, do you want to know something that Edison actually did invent? The electric chair. That's right. He sold the electric chair and profited off a invention that would kill people. So you have to ask yourself, somebody who profited off electrocuting animals and people, why is it that we're being taught so many great things about him in school when the true narrative about this guy is just being kept in the dark? Now, with all of that said, let me transition into the cover-up and conspiracy. So for decades after the FBI raided Nikola Tesla's hotel room and took possession of all of his paperwork and other belongings, they claimed that they immediately handed over to the Office of Alien Property Custodian, which was odd, by the way, because Nikola Tesla had already been a U.S. citizen for more than 50 years. But ultimately, this was in the heart of World War II, and they wanted to make sure that there was nothing within his possession that could be, well, the information could be utilized by the enemy. But what's odd is that the government actually held on to all of his possessions for 9 years. Not until 1952 is when they finally released all of his possessions and paperwork back over to his family overseas in Belgrade. So in 2013, the FBI was required to release documentation on Nikola Tesla following a request filed through the Freedom of Information Act. And you can actually see these documents online through the FBI's website. But these declassified documents caught the FBI red-handed in multiple lies. In fact, the FBI was interviewed in 2008 by Wired.com in order to discuss the 10 greatest myths ever about the FBI. And number 10 was, get this, about them having Nikola Tesla's plans for a death ray. Let me read to you, and I quote, "Despite long-standing reports and rumors, the FBI was not involved in searching Tesla's effects, and it never had possession of his papers or any microfilm that may have been made of those papers. Since 1943, we have told a consistent story to all who have asked. Reports to the contrary appear to be based on an initial confusion of FBI agents with other government officials, especially alien property